Hello and welcome to the Cailleach's Cave. I'll be doing another story for you today. This is a story about a Selkie, so a classic, and it's a bit darker than the last one. It's called The Selkie's New Skin, and it's a story about a kind of a mother line, daughter, mother and crone. So begins on an island in the far north of Scotland, battered by wind and weather, and with many pockmarked cliffs and caves and seabirds who seem to have lived there for many thousands of years. And on the cliff face there is a very inaccessible cave that very few have been able to find, and some tell tales about the old wise woman of the world who lives in the cave and has lived there for thousands of years, making a soup of all of the living things that grow on the earth, and weaving a giant beautiful tapestry out of seaweed and fish scales and sea urchin quills. There's also a fisherman who lives on the mainland who is kind of a dreamer and journeys often out into the sea and comes past the island. And one evening he comes past the island on a full moon at night, and there's been local tales of seals that come up and turn into humans on the island on the full moon. And this particular evening, from his boat, the fisherman is a bit sleepy, and he kind of gets the sleep out of his eyes and sees that on the island there are 12 women who are dancing and who are lit by the moonlight, and the moon kind of shines off their hair, and they seem very beautiful to him and very mysterious, of course. And he realises that they must be Selkies, and so he quietly brings his boat ashore, and he finds the pile of skins that they have left when they shed to come out as human form, and he decides that he's been kind of struggling in love and so these mysterious beautiful women remind him of the sea in a particular way, and so he decides he's going to steal one of their skins, and which is what he does. And by the end of the night, all of the Selkies try to come back and put their coats on, and one last woman realises that her skin is not there, and so she looks around really scared. And this is when the fisherman steps out, holds up her skin and says, "I have your skin. Does this mean now that you can come with me and be my wife?" And the Selkie looks aghast at him, but agrees that, this is what has happened before, and this is what will happen to her, and he has kindly eyes. And so she goes with him, and she goes with him in the boat, and they become married on the mainland, and she bears him a daughter. And the Selkie is, for the most part, happy until a few years have gone by, at which point the fisherman realises that she looks very, very sad, and that she is kind of wasting away a little. She bears him a daughter, and she names the daughter Mara after the sea. And the daughter grows up with this sad mother who can't really explain why she's sad. But one day when Mara is 6 or 7, her mother takes her down to the sea and explains, "I used to be a creature of the sea, I used to be a Selkie." And the daughter, of course, wide-eyed believes and understands that, her place is in the sea. And so Mara can't bear to see her mother so sad, and so she goes looking for her skin. And she looks all over the house, and she looks in the shed, and eventually she finds the skin folded up all neat underneath an old boat that her father doesn't use. And as she pulls out the skin, gleeful at having found this wonderful thing that she can now give her mother, suddenly it disintegrates and becomes dust, and is just the barest kind of outline of a skin. And incredibly sad, Mara brings this back to her mother and shows her, and her mother is just overcome by sadness at this, and runs out to the sea and rolls in the shallows as though she were a seal and cries. And the sea seems to give her some life for a little while, but it doesn't last. Mara doesn't know what to do, so at this point she's maybe 8, and she decides to go and see the local wise woman to see if there's anything, a herbal remedy or something that can help with her mother's sadness. And the old wise woman says, there is something that you can do. You can send your mother up to the old wise woman of the world who lives in the cliffs, and perhaps she will have a solution. So Mara trundles back and tells her mother about this. And her mother just thinks, I don't have any other options at this point. I really need to, recover from this, or I will not be a good mother. I will not be a good wife. And my place is in the sea anyway, so I must find a way or die trying. And so she begins an epic journey where she climbs the cliffs of the mainland, and she finds on the way that she is losing all of her possessions, all of the things that she's brought with her slowly fall away. Her cloak is pulled by the wind, an animal eats her food, and she has to live on seaweed, and it is a very, very epic journey of, kind of pain and torment really, up on the cliffs, being battered by the wind and the waves. Eventually, after some days of this epic journey, she's up on the top of the cliff, and she hears this singing, and it's a very low kind of singing of a woman's voice, which she thinks is coming from under the earth. And so she puts her ear to the ground, to the rocks, and she can hear a rumble, which she thinks sounds kind of like a spinning wheel and someone spinning wool. And so she decides this must be the place. So she clambers down the cliff. It's very dangerous. She tries not to look down, and then catches herself up on a bird's nest, and eggs fall on her head. And the birds go yomping at her as they fly past and peck at her. But she's determined in her task to find this cave. Eventually she slips down, and she finds the entrance to this cave, in which there is the old wise woman of the world, who is stirring her soup and spinning all of these beautiful colours, all the colours that have ever existed, into a fine, fine thread, which she weaves into this incredibly large, beautiful tapestry, fringed with sea urchin spines. And the old woman says, I know why you've come. You were looking for your skin. And the mother says, yes, I need it. I need to go back to the sea. Can you help me? And the wise woman of the world says, yes, I know what I can do to help. But you see, I've heard lots of stories of Selkies, and they always seem to find their skin and go back to the sea, but your journey is harder than that, I'm afraid. And so she tells her what to do. The mother climbs down from the cave and follows the wise woman's instructions. She goes down to the very bottom of the cliff, where she finds another cave, and inside that cave she finds the carcasses of 11 seals. They are in fact the seals that she was dancing with the first day that the fisherman found her, and they have been killed, as the wise woman said, in a slaughter. And their bones lie there, bleached by the little sunlight that comes through into the cave, and eaten by seabirds. And she weeps for the loss of her kin, who she would have been at sea with were it not for the fisherman. But she knows what to do. The old wise woman has told her what to do. She begins to sing a low song. Yundo, 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 yundo. As she sings, slowly the seals' carcasses begin to reform and reheal, and they become real and whole again, and life comes back into their bodies. Life comes back in meat and flesh, and breathing comes back into their chests, and the seals, they wake up and they shake and they roll themselves out of the cave back into the sea, and one looks back at her, and the mother sighs and says, "I cannot come with you, can I?" But the seal looks, and the mother realises that there is one skin that has not come back to life, and it has not been filled with the life of her kin again. The youngest seal sister. So the mother goes to it and she picks up the skin, and before her eyes it becomes whole again and becomes just a skin rather than a whole seal. And she strokes it, and life is breathed back into it, and she puts it over her head and nestles back into it, and suddenly she's a seal again, taking on the skin of her fallen kin. And so she follows the other seals and selkies back out into the ocean, and dances with them in the sea, swimming in the way that she would have done, glorying in the ocean and catching fish and playing with her kin. But somewhere in her seal memory she remembers her daughter, and of course she can't go back to the sea without having closure with her daughter, so she comes back out, takes off her skin on the next full moon, and finds her daughter sitting on a rock by the beach where she first came ashore. And her daughter's overjoyed to see her, and the mother explains that she got her skin back and that she can now go and be free in the ocean again. But she also is sad to say goodbye to her daughter. But her daughter is very astute and clever and sympathetic, and understands that her mother was always a woman of the sea. She was always a Selkie. And in fact, Mara herself is half human and half Selkie, and understands that call to the sea. And she says, "It's okay, mother, but perhaps you could return once a year to this spot, and we can talk, and you can tell me of your adventures under the sea, and I will tell you of my life as I grow older." And the mother agrees, and this sounds wonderful. So a year from that day, the mother comes back and shares her stories with her daughter. And she also teaches her the song that she sang to bring the life back to her fallen kin. And the daughter learns the song, and the mother tells her that the song was in fact a mourning song, but it can also bring joy back and bring life back to the Selkies. And if Mara sings it when in her heart she really wants to be in the sea with her mother, then it will turn her into a Selkie and give her a skin so that she can come and be with her mother in the sea. So there we go, that's the end of the story. I think it's a very beautiful story about this connection and the bond between mother and daughter, but also the wise woman who offers knowledge and who is weaving this tapestry, and also gives the mother a way to kind of get her skin back through singing. So I think it's kind of lots of different things that are themes for me this year as Cailleach. So kind of crafting and stories and songs and ways to find your way back to yourself, maybe. Yeah, anyway.